Hello, everybody on YouTube. We'll be going live shortly. All right, sound test is good. All right. And we're going. We're live. So, if you're in chat, please say hello. I'm in a new location, so I'm excited to be here to talk with you all about programming again. So we'll get started soon. If you're in chat, please say hello. I'll give folks a few minutes to get in here, and then we'll start our live recording. So I'm just excited that we are back for another programmatic episode. So I'll give folks a few minutes to come in, and we'll get started. This will be a good opportunity to test speech chat as well. So if you are in chat, please say hello. Let me know you're there, and we'll get started. We are going to be talking about different project updates today, how to update a project, how to make decisions on updating your projects. I think that's kind of important. I've been learning this in the past couple of weeks, so I'm going to be giving more of a story. And I think that's what we're going to do a lot of these episodes is, we could talk about programming and how to program all we want, and we're going to continue doing that. But I think it's partly about the stories of programmers. What have you found difficult? What is challenging and things like that. So we'll be kind of pivoting to that for the show. So again, if people are here, let me know. From the looks of things, it's just me. So we will be getting started in just a moment. So if you're listening, if you join throughout the show, please feel free to say hello. Let me know you're here. And if you are coming in, listening to the show after, whenever it comes out as a podcast, I will be, interested to get your feedback. So feel free to email me at mikedoise@icloud.com. If you are waiting for Programmatic episode 4, don't worry, it will be coming out today. I'm visiting family, so everything's just slightly delayed, but everything will be coming out. It is a weekly show, so it will be released very soon. Give folks just another minute or so to come in, and then we will get started. All right, let's go ahead and do this thing. So if you are here, let me know, say hello, and we will begin. So, all right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Programmatic. I'm Michael Dowie, and it's good to be back with you all. And we are back for episode 5 of the show. This is really cool that we've been doing this show 5 episodes. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's a great show, 5 weeks in a row. So I'm really excited about that. And let me know what you think about the editing and the production. I'm really curious because I've just recently gotten back into that. So I'd love people's feedback. What can I do better? What can be worse? Those kind of things are important as I'm kind of getting back into this. I'm using GarageBand and Auphonic to do a lot of the work for this show. And if you know my other shows, I do the IAcast Network, and Programmatic will be showing up there on our live feed in our iacast.net website as well. So again, this show is meant to be for everybody to listen to and get information from. So whether you're in the mainstream where you don't use assistive technology, or you do, like myself or others, this show is for you. So it's for everybody to learn to code, and I'm really excited about it. Again, we have our website at programmaticpod.com, and I'm really excited about that. And we have our hashtag on Twitter and Mastodon, so feel free to use those to talk about programming and to mention the show. I check that often. All right, so we had our challenge last week, and if you remember, the challenge was to scrape a website, basically pull the content from the website or RSS feed or API, and to give an example of how to do that. So we're going to do a few examples of this here, a little bit different this week. So we're going to do a example in using 11 Labs to read these out. So we have our, we're going to have 11 Labs read our Swift example. And we're going to do that in Python. And now we're going to do it in shell script. So how can you create a shell script to do this? So welcome to a new voice on the podcast, since it's a new language. All right. So I think that's a very important skill to have, because you're often having to pull data from the internet and parse it. And the next lesson or next challenge will expand more on this, and we'll go from there. So, so 3, 2, 1. So with all of that behind us for this week, let's talk about our topics that we have. And I think it's really important to talk about this, because we all see these new frameworks come out. We see Swift UI, we see Jetpack Compose, and all these other ways of building apps and services, React, SvelteKit, all of these frameworks and things like that are coming out for these different ways of programming and building UI and building databases with, NoSQL solutions, document-based databases, and all these things that sound amazing. It's like, oh, I want to try that. I want to use it. I want to figure it out and program all my new things with that. But the question is, should you? And that's what today's episode is about. Should you change to those new programming paradigms and these new frameworks and new ways of doing things? And I always was under the impression, like, Swift UI came out. It's like, all right, let's change all my apps over to that. But is that the best idea? Well, I don't know that it is. And the reason is that you already have, Objective-C and Swift have been around for a little while now, and they use UIKit. And, we've got, on the Android side, we've got what worked for a long time. My apps are still in the Google Play Store using some of the original ways of building Android apps, and they're still there and they're working great. That may not be the case on iOS, but the Android versions are still working great. So why change them if they're not broken? I mean, whenever I go to update them, they're going to need a lot of updates, and probably will have to be changed quite a bit because they have not been changed in quite some time. However, they're still working. And if they're still working, why change them? Now, like with the iAccessibility app, a lot of the feeds and URLs have changed, so it needs definitely an update. But that is the key to all this. You update when you need to, not when you want to. And like for iOS, the iAccessibility app broke, which is what I'm working on now for my company. And so it's time to update it. Well, I thought, well, Swift UI is out. Let's just update everything to Swift UI. Well, there are things in Swift UI that I am not as easily able to do as I was able to do in storyboards and with UI Kit. So when it comes to that, it's what are the trade-offs? What are you losing to gain this new UI library? And sure, in the future, they will add everything to make it easy to create things as you did with UI Kit, but it's not there yet. So it's one of those situations where it's not always good to update. And, a friend of mine, friend of all the podcasts, Lauren Flinter, said, why don't you take your old app and just update it, and then you could continue working on the Swift UI version. And when it's ready, you can publish that. And I thought that's a brilliant idea, because if you already have something that's working and you could just tweak it to make it work a little bit better or upgrade it, keep that project going and don't reinvent the wheel until you really need to. And that way you can add functionality, you can add features without having to rebuild your entire app or product or whatever you're doing, and have to deal with the ramifications of something working differently. And then you have two different code bases. So that's, I thought, a really important thing to do, to think about, because when you're building a project and you have a monolith in a certain UI framework or database framework, changing away from that is going to be a lot more time and effort than you're probably prepared to do. So all those things are very important and really good to keep in mind. With that being said, though, it is important to think about when you do see something new, like you see new versions of platforms and frameworks, that you go ahead and look at those to see if they are worth updating to. Certain apps may be better on that new platform, and that's important to know and important to think about, because if you, as a programmer, just stick with one thing, then you're missing out on the new features and new functionalities that you're going to get with that new framework. So all of those things are important to really consider when you're looking at your projects, and especially your projects that have been kind of sitting there stagnant for a while. So that's the message I was trying to convey for this show. And I think that it's important to really look at all of your projects and how they are, and compare them to where you want them to be, and really think about the feature set you want the project to have. Will that feature set work well in what you're doing, or do you need to change frameworks or update the UI to a new framework so that it can support that new thing you're trying to do? The next thing I want to talk about is what everybody's talking about right now, and that's ChatGPT or GPT-4. So I have ChatGPT Plus, and I was trying the GPT-4 algorithm or learning model on the other day on ChatGPT, and it was very interesting. I put in what is async image in Swift UI. Now, in certain podcasts, I've been hearing that GPT-4 is still based on 2021 based language models. And I don't know if that's true, because I asked it that question, what is async image in Swift UI? And it knew. And that came out in 2022. And that rhymed. So it's interesting that if it is 2021, it knew what async image was and gave me an example of how to use it. So I think that at least at some point, the models have been updated, or it can extrapolate based on the context. So I think it's really worth trying GPT-4 for your programming. And I've heard that it can take up to 20 to 26,000 characters. So I would be interested in seeing how well it can convert one source file to another. So I'm going to have to try that. And, one of the things that I just thought about over the week was, what if I took a UIKit view controller and said to convert that to a Swift UI view? And we're going to try that. And I think that needs to be our challenge for the week, is use ChatGPT and put some code in it and have it convert that code to another language. We may do that for next week, because I do have something special. Unless you guys want 2 challenges, let's go ahead and do 2 challenges, because I think that'll be fun. Let's step it up a bit. And so for one challenge, take some code or any of your challenges before and put it into ChatGPT and tell it to convert it to another language. That's what I've been doing to get the solutions for the code. Everything that you've been seeing on our challenges has been using ChatGPT. So try that yourself. Try putting it in and then seeing what you get back as a result. And we'll do that with the other part of this code, and that is going to be our challenge for this time. But before we get to that, I am very impressed with what we've been able to do with AI, especially with reading images and telling what's in that image. So it's really exciting. If you are not in the blindness industry or in the accessibility industry and you don't know about Be My Eyes, it's the first one to take in images and convert those images into it can look at those images and make determinations on what's in those images. And it works really well. The first app to use this is Be My Eyes, and so you can check that out. Link will be in the show notes about that. So it's a very interesting first use of the multi-input system of GPT-4. So I'm really excited about that. All right, so our challenge this week, our second part of our challenge this week, will be to take the code you used for last week's challenge and now add a way to look at, to look through that code or to parse it. So if you parse like XML or HTML, see if you can parse it and get information. So for example, I will be, for my solution, doing some code to parse RSS feeds in Swift and in Python. So that will be the solutions for next time. In Swift and Python, we'll have solutions that can take the code that the content that we pulled from the web last time and then parse that to be usable in programming, so it can assign different things to variables. So that'll be our next challenge for the podcast. And I know this is probably a shorter episode today, but I think that is the messages that we talked about are very important for new programmers and even, programmers that have been doing this a while like myself. So I hope you guys find that interesting, and I would love to know your thoughts on everything discussed. So use our hashtags on Twitter and Mastodon, hashtag Programmatic Pod, and you can email me at mikedoise@icloud.com. And I would love to hear your conversations, and that's why we do this podcast, is so that I'm not just talking to you guys, but so that we could all talk about all of our shared experiences, our stories, and to get folks involved and to get people interested in programming, because this truly is an art. And I think we always need to come around to looking at it as such. It's not just a way to analyze things. It's also an art form to create something from nothing. So I hope you guys continue with me on this journey, and we'll be back next week for episode 6. Wow. We're going to get to 10 before you know it, folks. So that's pretty exciting. So thanks again for being with me on this episode, and we'll see you all next time. So bye, everyone.